it seems like Tennessee has less faith in Nico Iamaleava, which we're going to get to. I'm going to go ahead and say on the front end that that's good coaching by Tennessee. He's either not ready or his offensive line's not ready, and we're going to get into all of that. But playing him like a redshirt freshman instead of an established player, which we both thought he would be, right, Caleb?
Yep.
It's the right thing to do right now. Would you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, you obviously still play him. It's and
no, I mean the way you handle him, you don't put him in position to make mistakes. For instance, when they were backed up at their own end, they ran the ball 3 times. You're just not going to go out there and be as aggressive as you were with Hendon Hooker.
Yes. Also, just the nature of your team now is different. You couldn't rely on your defense to win games with Hendon Hooker. You can rely on this defense to win games. You can literally play old school 1998 football right now and say, "Hey, defense, go close this thing out for us." And
totally agree. I totally agree. So let's go ahead and get to that right now. It will be 4 downs as we'll discuss 4 reasons why Nico Iamaleava has not lived up to the hype. And it's not all his fault. And I'm not saying jump off the bandwagon. I think he can still end the season as one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. But the stats are the stats. And we have enough of a track record to know what Nico is at this point. So let's go ahead and get into it. 4 downs today brought to you by our good friends at Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. 4 downs off the hook sports.
4 downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Okay, let's go ahead and set this up first. Caleb, for those that are new to the program, be sure and hit like and subscribe, by the way. We continue to bring in new subscribers. So for those that are new, I want to make sure that everybody knows where we stood in the beginning of the season, because perhaps we were part of the problem that got the expectations too high. But where were your expectations of Nico before the season? And now on Happy Thanksgiving Day in Canada, where are your expectations now?
For Nico,
you thought he was going to win the Heisman Trophy. Okay.
Yes.
He's not going to do that, right?
No, that's not. And I mean, I tried to make the case for late bloomers. No late bloomer that won the Heisman was this pedestrian this early. And so it's not even a question now. He's not winning the Heisman.
Okay. So how would you describe him in context of other quarterbacks that you've seen or other quarterbacks in the SEC?
I mean, it's hard for me to say this, but he's definitely closer to the lower end. I don't know if it's the SEC, but he's reminding me of, there's some scary ones and there's some ones that you can be encouraged by. And I'm just going to throw these names out there, Dave, and you tell me if you can even give me Hank Kingsley or Tracy Morgan based on the names I can compare you to, because you might get scared with some. So let me start with one. This could be a good one. Cade Klubnik. Played ugly for a year, but is playing well now.
Okay, I disagree with that, because I don't think that he's going to continue to play ugly for the entire season. So Cade Klubnik pretty much had a bad year, right? I don't think that's going to be the case with Nico.
All right. 3 more, and then I'll give you and then you can give me your thoughts. A Tennessee quarterback himself, T. Martin. Horrible the first 5 games at Tennessee as a starter, and then really turned it on afterward.
I give him a little bit more credit for the run against Syracuse. He had a deep ball against Florida that was kind of a moonshot that, goodness gracious, it was more about the receiver than
Peerless Price staying on that.
Yes.
Focused on that. That was all Peerless.
I agree. So I'm not really arguing with you, but I got to be honest with you. I think he won the game against Syracuse. I don't think that Nico has gotten to the point where he's won a game for Tennessee. So I would actually say that T. Martin through the early first half of the season played better in 98 than T. Martin now. Nico now, excuse me.
Okay. Two more really, really, really scary ones that you really hope he's not. Jackson Arnold and DJ Ukulele.
He's not that. Now, the comparison that I brought up in my mind, not to you, so I guess I didn't really bring it up, but is Eric Ainge. I thought he looked incredibly antsy at LSU. I thought he looked antsy at times with a better offensive line in front of him than Nico currently has. I think that's the comparison. Now, I'm not comparing them as players, but it is natural to be antsy, Caleb. I thought that Eric Ainge was always antsy that Brent Schaefer or Rick Clausen was going to end up taking his job. Whereas I think Nico's antsy because of, and we're going to get into this, but let's just start with the hype. I think he's antsy because he knows so much is on him right now.
You know, I see what you're saying with Eric Ainge in the 2005 season, but that was such a mismanaged quarterback situation by Philip Fulmer, Randy Sanders, the team in general. Everybody mismanaged that in 2005. And so I think that wrecked Eric Ainge's psyche. But the difference between Ainge and Nico is that was Ainge's sophomore year. We saw Ainge play as a freshman. And Dave, he won games for Tennessee as a freshman, playing really well in a way Nico hasn't. I mean, he won that game against Florida with that game-winning drive to kick for the James Wilhoit field goal. Went to Athens and threw 2 touchdown passes to beat Georgia as a true freshman. I mean, we watched him win games, managing the offense more than making big plays. But at the same time, I can't even go Ainge. See, I saw with Ainge, I saw a complete and utter total meltdown his sophomore year that I haven't seen with quarterbacks before.
Yep, and that was an issue because if you haven't heard us talk about it, I covered that team. Every single offensive player wanted it to be Rick Clausen. So we definitely, there's no argument that Eric Ainge was the more talented player than Rick Clausen, but you have to factor in the team to some extent. So let's get to 4 downs. Coop, what should people do if they want to be a part of the program?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right, thank you. And we're going to talk a little bit of
Iamaleava.
Thank you. I'm just having fun with my buttons.
Coop here. First down.
All right, 4 reasons why Tennessee's quarterback Nico Iamaleava is not living up to the hype. Number 1, and I put this actually ahead of the offensive line position because it's more pervasive now. The offensive tackles undermined Tennessee, and we'll get to that. But they were only a negative impact on, let's say, 8 to 10 plays, which is a lot, okay? But Nico's seeing ghost, which when I say that, it means he believes there's pressure there when there's not, and he's uncomfortable and not escaping the pocket when he should, and that's a big-time problem. I mean, that to me is almost as big as the physical lack of ability that the offensive tackles will get to. But just watching him play football, doesn't it seem like to everyone that he's expecting pressure that sometimes is not even there? And then when he runs the ball, I don't think he's comfortable. This also could be partly because he is a first-year full-time starter. But I think seeing ghost is something that's really, really going on, and probably the most dangerous of the 4 factors and why Nico hasn't lived up to the hype that I'm going to list out.
100% agree. 100% agree. He's seeing ghost, and it's the last thing you want to have in your quarterback. But he is getting rid of the ball too quickly. But Dave, I think it's twofold. He's seeing ghost for 2 reasons. Yes, he's under a lot more duress because of the tackles. I think he's also just getting hit harder because, Tennessee went from dropping 69, 51, and 71 points, and then SEC play began, and they've dropped 25, 19, and 17 points in regulation of games. And I think that he's just getting hit more by SEC defenders.
Along those lines, remember this. Not just Josh Heupel, but Josh Heupel in particular has pretty soft practices. They don't hit a lot. So I don't know how much he's ever been hit before the season started. And he certainly wasn't hit a lot against Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State, and teams like that. So, yeah, if he's not just seeing ghost. I mean, there are dudes there, but I think he's seeing ghost. And I don't know that he's been hit 5 times in a day since he played high school football before this season. I mean, was he hit 5 times against Iowa?
I don't think so. I mean, if he was hit, it was because he was scrambling and he was tackled. But, Dave, as a quarterback, that being tackled on a scramble is nowhere near the same as getting waxed in the pocket. It's a totally different thing.
Okay, well, I think the ghosts are the most dangerous. I'm going to say this one has caused it all.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
It's offensive tackle. Not only do they not pass protect, they limit Tennessee on what they're able to do to roll Nico out, because that puts them in a bind, because whether you're talking about Lance Hurd or John Campbell Jr., who, God bless him, is playing through a bad bursa sac in his ankle, and he's doing the best he can. Lance Hurd's been very underwhelming. You can't roll him out because that puts them in a bind because they've got slow feet. And more so than that, they get called for holds. Lance Hurd has gotten called for false starts. The offensive tackle position is just, and I don't throw this out there lightly, has just been an F-. It's the worst of these 4 concerns, but it's not the one that I'm most concerned about. That would be ghosts.
Yes, I mean, the offensive tackle play, we're going to get into it, but they have been absolutely atrocious. You're right, Campbell's banged up. Hurd's just not that talented. I mean, we raised this red flag at the beginning of the year, but he came in with the diva-like tendency of, I demand to play left tackle. Josh Heupel conceded to that, and then also ignored the fact that he couldn't beat out 2 other tackles at LSU.
Great. And the guy's just not fast twitch, or he's hurt. Now, somebody told me, they said, remember, he's coming off a high ankle sprain, and those guys don't get better. And I'll defend him for a second. But he hasn't practiced a lot, and we've seen like Andre Keurig take a year to get good to go under this offensive system. So I'm cutting him some slack there, but I mean, they've got to make a decision, I think, pretty quickly, whether or not they want to put Larry Johnson in there or just roll with Dane Davis.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right. Third down is this, and you're not going to like it. The playbook is limited for good reason. 4 downs brought to you by our title sponsor, Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Other attorneys say they'll go to trial. They won't. BanksandJones.com. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. All right, Nico has 3 interceptions, and they all occurred in 2 of them occurred are just terrible reads in the middle of the field. And that would be the NC State interception, the interception against Florida. Caleb, that's just through 6 games. Now, if you want to go back to the guy he's always going to be compared to, Hendon Hooker threw 2 interceptions through the entire season. He was hurt in the South Carolina game, as we know, but played 11 games. Caleb, the playbook is limited because they don't trust Nico right now to make reads over the middle. And that makes Tennessee's offense very 2023-like. I'm not knocking the coaches for doing that. I mean, he almost cost them the Florida game and gave NC State a chance in bad reads over the middle. But I don't remember Hendon Hooker in 2022, and this offense was humming, making anywhere close to those bad reads that Nico has made this year.
No, I don't either, but I also don't remember Hendon Hooker being asked to make those throws that Nico was asked to make. And so I think part of the bad reads, I think here's what's happening. They're dialing it back. I think they threw a lot more on Nico than they typically throw on a quarterback. and because he can make certain throws.
I don't think they have the. I don't think they did last week, and maybe before that.
No, they backed off last week, but yes. But what I'm talking about is before that. Yeah, no, I think they put a lot of pressure on Nico to make certain throws. Again, Hendon Hooker was never really asked to throw over the middle. So
but you say that, but there were a lot of the deep slants. I mean, he didn't throw the short slants and drags over the middle and the dig routes as much, but they weren't afraid to call anything in the playbook. Let's put it that way. I think they're afraid to call some things in the playbook with Nico. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I can give you that. But I think a lot of I think they weren't afraid at the beginning. I think they're afraid now, and I think they don't know how to reset the clock with Nico because of how they practice with him throughout the preseason.
Guys, I remember, and listen, I go back to my Cowboys day, and this is before you. I mean, Troy Aikman's first year, they didn't have Larry Allen. They didn't have all those dudes protecting him, and he got beat to the point that I remember John Madden saying, you hope it doesn't destroy him and his confidence. Troy Aikman's probably lucky that he got hurt midway through that season. I mean, that was a 1-15 season. I don't know if you know that, but Steve Walsh actually beat the Redskins for their one win. Troy Aikman didn't win a game, and he was beat all to Hades. So they need to protect him, or you got a confidence issue. And I think you have that with a ghost already to some extent. What down is next, Coop?
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
He's not the best option. Guys, Dylan Sampson's putting up legendary yards, and Tennessee's interior can push people around, and the tackles struggle. Just simple fact. Look at this team. No matter how he's played, and tell me that Tennessee is a passing football team instead of a running football team, which Josh Heupel takes pride in.
Well, yeah, they're obviously a running football team. I mean, I absolutely agree. And Dylan Sampson also is, I mean, guys, y'all know, I say every time I say this, I acknowledge I'm eating crow, but Dylan Sampson's a rare talent too. I mean, he's one of the most complete players you could have at running back. And not only is Nico not the best option, he's not the second best option. Your best option is Dylan Sampson. Your second best option is your defense. I mean, your defense is going to spot you some points, just like they did over the weekend.
Oh, you're going to say your second best option is Deshaun Bishop. I was going to be like, whoa, boy,
no,
it's definitely changed. But you could argue that.
You could, but I think, again, your second, it's almost, I mean, you hate to go here, Dave, but it's almost like 2000 Ravens with Trent Dilfer, where they were, Shannon Sharp tells a story where he would go to Ray Lewis before every game, and he'd say, how many points do you need us to get you in this game? And Ray Lewis would say, anywhere in the range of like 6 to 10. Just get us 6 to 10 points and we got you.
Yeah, no, I'll give you another one. Randall Cunningham was told make 4 or 5 plays and the defense will win it. Now, Nico's being coached better than Buddy Ryan ever coached anybody.